guys, welcome to Pastor's Corner. I'm Josh. This is Pastor Robert.
Hey guys.
We're going to just continue to talk. This is episode 2. We're going to continue to talk about theological issues in the church today. And hope you enjoy. Go ahead and subscribe. Like the video. Help us spread the word. Share it on your social media. Let's get into it. So, Pastor, here lately there's been some discussion in our church and Bible study, and you've mentioned it in some of your sermons, about this seeker-friendly movement. I guess it started probably, late 70s, early 80s, somewhere in there?
Could be, yeah.
And then progressed in the 90s and was really popular.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about it. What is it? What is the seeker-friendly movement, I guess, first?
Well, the idea behind it is to design a worship service that is so inviting and non-threatening that people who don't know Jesus but might be interested in Jesus could come in, feel welcome, and not offended or feeling out of place. It really started with the idea of evangelizing. How do we reach people for Jesus? Because people who don't know Jesus don't want to go to church. Mm-hmm. So one way of saying it is you design a worship service to where people would feel welcome and they want to go. They do it in a lot of different ways, but one thing you do is make sure that everyone would feel comfortable, everyone would feel welcome, everyone would have a good, fun experience, that they would not have a problem next week waking up in the morning to go to that because it was fun, it was invigorating, and pretty much the seeker-friendly movement, looking for people who are seekers. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much what it is. And they designed worship for it. They designed the whole. I say the whole experience because they didn't use that word experience back then. Mm-hmm. But that's the new word now. If you get on YouTube, you won't see worship. You won't see church. It's called online experience because they're trying to give people an experience, and it sells. Mm-hmm. And pretty much what it is how do we reach those seeker people during our church service?
Right. Is it something, we talked about it, is it something that still is kind of an issue? I hate to say issue. Is it something we're still seeing in churches today? Yeah. Is it something that's still popular today?
I believe so. The difference, though, in what I'm noticing, at least in my opinion, is there was a time where there was a distinction between worship and seeker-friendly service, and people knew what the seeker-friendly service was about. I remember when I was learning in books that I read on how to reach seekers, and it was an intentional thing you did in church to reach them. But what I'm seeing now is it's years later, and I don't think anyone is seeing the distinction anymore.
Right.
They're seeing the seeker-friendly service, which in one hand is really just evangelism. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily worship. It's a blend of evangelism and a little bit of worship. So, but they don't see it anymore. No one sees the difference. Mm-hmm. They're starting to see that as how church should be. How church always was. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? And it wasn't, and it isn't in many aspects. So I see that as one of the issues today. People aren't being able to separate the two anymore.
And what are there advantages to that? Are there advantages to or positives to the seeker-friendly movement? Is there good that can come from the seeker-friendly type service?
Sure, a lot of people have a great way to grow your church. If you want your attendance numbers up, and you want to reach as many people as possible in that community, I think you see a lot of churches that have grown. I think the mega church movement really came out of the seeker-friendly thing. Mm-hmm. These were churches and pastors and leadership teams that were, really good at it, and they picked the right area, they picked the right place, where all the people were, and it just fit that culture of wherever they were. Saddleback Ministries, you have the ones in Atlanta, Georgia, and they grow. I mean, thousands of people come on out. So if your ultimate goal is just numbers, and that's your goal, numbers, money, fame, it's good, it works. The other thing that makes it really positive is it makes this church service more enjoyable. Mm-hmm. I grew up Catholic, and There's nothing fun about that at all. Although I never saw it as boring and dull, when that became boring and dull is when the seeker-friendly movement came out. And now you see these two contrasts, between walking in the church and just having a good time, so one, it makes the experience more pleasurable because you're making sure you're not doing anything to make it unpleasurable. Everything is done to be comforting and fun and joyful and happy, and so that's a positive. Numbers, the experience changes, and I'm sure people have a lot of people who would have never stepped foot into church, may have never come to know Jesus in any sort of way, actually came to know Jesus that way because it attracted them there, so there's a lot of positives in it. It's, even though a lot of times you hear me talk bad about it, I'm not anti-seeker friendly. I mean, it has its role.
I guess that was going to be my next question was, as far as positives go, spiritually, are there positives? And you kind of answered that with, it's going to get those people who aren't comfortable coming into a regular church setting, into a traditional church setting, somebody who would never come to, a high church type, Catholic or Episcopalian type, but even
just traditional.
Yeah, even just a traditional church where they're going to hear the gospel preached in a real tangible way, they're probably not going to come to that kind of a service willingly more than once.
Yes.
So it does get them involved.
It was also like the idea. I call it a bait and switch. You're not supposed to say that because that doesn't sound positive, but I always saw it as a bait and switch. The service designed as seeker friendly is the bait. Get them in the doors, let them have a good time, get them connected, and then you switch it during the small groups. You make sure that you have small groups, or what we call Bible study. See, the concept of small group is a seeker friendly term. Because it used to be called Sunday school, it used to be called Bible study, but Bible study doesn't sell, Sunday school doesn't sell, but small group kind of sold, and that doesn't even sell anymore with the seeker-friendly movement. Now it's life groups, because life group is a positive term, I mean, a lot of names, a lot of terms have changed.
And those have also been taken out of the church and put into more secular settings.
Sure.
They get together at a restaurant or somebody's house. Or those kinds of things.
We use the word campus now. You're coming on campus, and I'm like, when I first heard that, it really messed with my head. Being, someone who was raised Catholic, campus. No, I'm not in college. It's just a church, So but you're supposed to switch it, and you're supposed to give them Jesus in those life groups, those small groups, and things like that. So you make sure you're covered.
Hey folks, I hope you've enjoyed this discussion on the seeker-friendly movement and what it's meant to the church in America. Go ahead and get subscribed, as Pastor and I will continue this discussion in next week's episode of the new podcast, Pastor's Corner. Hope to see you there. God bless you.